Now, there's no doubt that Donald Trump has been an absolute disaster, being the most unpopular sitting president in his first 100 days since 1945. So, absolute disaster. And it's kind of weird because for a supposed populist, he doesn't seem to be all that popular. Sad.
He's a bigly disaster.
Sad. Baby. Fail. Anyway, now, there is another new poll showing how out of touch Donald Trump is with the American people. Now, after all, he's supposed to be an outsider that's supposed to be in touch with the people. Well, I have some graphs from this ABC News Washington Post poll. I think you'll enjoy this. Now, Donald Trump being out of touch with the concerns of most people. Overall, 58% of Americans like, yeah, Donald Trump's out of touch. He's a rich Manhattan guy that goes golfing every week, and of course he's out of touch. Now, you go down, Clinton voters obviously make up the biggest amount. That's unsurprising. Democrats, 87%, unsurprising again. Third-party voters, that's a little surprising. 70%, 59% of independents, only 20% of Republicans, and 10% of Trump voters. Okay, so look, those that 10%, obviously, those are the diehards. Okay, those are the people that like Trump, MAGA. Nothing's gonna get me off that Trump train, man. Even if that Trump train runs off a cliff, runs out of track. Okay, now look, this gets worse. Okay, Donald Trump he's not doing so good. Okay, he's doing very, very badly, very bad, very sad, disaster. Okay, now
Bigly.
But the political parties, the Republican Party is actually faring worse. Now, 62% of Americans and 30% of Republicans themselves think that the GOP is out of touch with the concerns of most people in the United States. 62% of Americans, again, Donald Trump, 58% of Americans think he's out of touch, but 62% of Americans think the GOP is out of touch. That, again, that's sad. But if you think that's bad, and it is, wait till you get a load of the Democrats. According to the same poll, and I want to bring this up here. Let me get the graphic for you. Okay. According to this poll, the Democratic Party is viewed as more out of touch than either Donald Trump and the Republican Party. A full 2/3 of Americans say the Democratic Party is out of touch. That includes nearly half of Democrats themselves. Look at that, man. That is an unmitigated disaster. And again, like, okay, understandable. Trump voters, 86% say yes, they are out of touch, 81% of Republicans. But look at independents. 75% of independents say they're out of touch. 69% of third-party voters, out of touch. But again, the Democrats, even Hillary Clinton supporters, her voters, 48% of them say, yeah, the party is out of touch. And yet, the Democratic Party elites, people like Tom Perez, are out there saying, what are you talking about? We're unity. We've got unity here. We're on a unity tour. There's a big problem with the party. Again, this is a party, Ron, that's on the right side of all the issues. You would think, right? I mean, look, they're in favor of
the right
wing
side of all the issues.
Well, in principle, they're supposed to be on the right side of issues. Expanding health care, raising the minimum wage, expanding access to higher education, expanding opportunity. They're supposed to be on the right side of the issues. They don't seem to be. They seem to be very, very bad at this. And obviously bad at saying that, hey, we're not out of touch. They have become the party of elites. Now, the problem is that they're not embracing progressive policy because progressive policy happens to be incredibly popular, right? So what do you think their problem is? Well, their problem is they don't run on progressive policy. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is the fact that there's too many corporate Democrats kind of still controlling the party. Your Tom Perez's, your Nancy Pelosi's, you know, and then you have other people like Cory Booker floating around, and it's starting to catch up. I mean, the Unity tour that just happened, there is footage out there, and I'm sure you've seen some of it, Jeff. I'm sure you've talked about some of it. I know we've talked about it a lot on the Jimmy Dore show, and we had a good laugh at its expense last night at the show. there's this unity tour now where people are cheering till their voices are hoarse for Bernie Sanders, and they're booing Tom Perez.
Oh yeah.
It's not even like, oh, they're not as excited about this guy. They are booing Tom Perez. And it's to the point where now when Tom Perez goes out, and you can see this footage, it's out there, what Tom Perez will do, when he goes out, they play the music really loud so you can't hear the people booing him. And then what he says right away to pander to the audience and get a quick applause is he'll say, give it up for your speaker that's going to be coming up here soon, Bernie Sanders.
Oh.
Which is something you never really see in public speech. Who does that? Like, oh, and coming up we got, whatever. Like even like an opening band, they'll wait until like their last song or something like that to be like give it up for, if you're an MC at a comedy show, you might say, hey, by the way, your headliner tonight is so-and-so because they're the main event. But who in a context like this, when you're supposed to be the head of the party, you go, oh, and this guy that you guys actually like, because he has policy ideas, is coming up later. And you can also see footage where he's asked direct questions by Chris Hayes or whoever else. Do you support single payer? Do you think corporations are the problem? He cannot give a straight answer. He can't do it. You could ask Tom Perez what he had for lunch today, and he would give you some empty platitude bullshit about how lunch is an important meal and we need to have a lunch that works for everybody. And when we put hope on the ballot, we all get a great lunch, and I love pancakes. He would just give you word salad back, as opposed to Nancy Pelosi, who can't even form a sentence at this point. And these people are leading the party. People like these leading a political party, that's like having Stephen Hawking lead a choir. It makes no logical sense, but it's because they cater to the donors. They cave to the donors. They cater to them, so they give these empty platitudes because they don't have either just the guts or the will to go against their donors or the desire to go against their donors to say, yeah, we support single payer. We support ending student loan debt and reevaluating college in this country. We support ending the wars and investing this money at home. We support infrastructure. We support a Green New Deal. They would have overwhelming public support if they did that. No, this isn't just someone being in a bubble. This is looking at Bernie Sanders getting applause breaks in red places, for something like single-payer health care, because more people are aware of it and in favor of it than ever before.
Ron, you're talking about single-payer health care, and I want to show you a clip here of what the Democrats are doing and what they're doing wrong when it comes to the discussion on single-payer, which is now more popular even among Republicans, by the way. You have a majority of Republicans that are now in favor of single-payer. You have 78 to 80% of Democrats that are in favor of Medicare for all. Let me show you the Democratic response to this.
Not at this stage, and I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Essentially, as I understand what Bernie is proposing, it is a takeover of all medicine in the United States. And I don't favor that. What I favor is taking a couple of problems in the Obama bill and working those out. And this has to do with the individual market, which is highly problematic. Well,
okay, I've got to ask.
I understand if you want to stay after this.
Okay, so that was Dianne Feinstein, of course. To give you a little context, she was asked about whether she would support Bernie Sanders' bill to expand Medicare for all. You saw her answer. It was a complete right-wing talking point of, oh, no, it's a takeover. It's a government takeover of health care, which is completely false. It's Medicare. We already have Medicare. Medicare hasn't taken over anything. Medicare already exists, and furthermore, people love Medicare. It's the most popular program in existence. So all progressives like Bernie Sanders and John Conyers are trying to do, and others, are just trying to open it up to everybody, which would actually help healthcare. And this is a response from supposed Democrat, supposed liberal Dianne Feinstein. This is a great example of how the Democrats are out of touch. Look, this town hall, Ron, this wasn't in Alabama. This wasn't in Texas. This was in liberal California. This isn't among Republicans who are, again, I say, it's shown that even Republicans are in support of Medicare for all, a single payer system. They're not conservatives. These are liberals. This is her base, and they're out there saying sell out, grow a spine, and combating her right wing talking points. This is a great example of how the Democrats have continued to lose. This is why they lose.
Yeah, and they sound, it's interesting you say she sounds like a right winger. And, truth be told, I got to give a peek under the hood just so people are aware of this. I actually couldn't hear the video, Jeff. So I didn't get to hear it. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt, but it wasn't coming through my headphones. I didn't get to hear the video. But, basing off the summary you just gave me, more and more you hear Democrats sounding like people on the right. I mean, especially when it comes to, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but when it comes to the Russia hysteria and stuff that's going on, there's a lot of the "you're with us" or "you're with the terrorist" type verbiage coming out of the Democratic Party. They're sounding more and more like Republicans. When you ask Tom Perez if he supports a $15 an hour minimum wage, if he supports the fight for 15, which the Democratic platform, even though they give lip service to that number now, which they didn't do before, they still have not actually embraced the fight for 15. They still haven't done that.
Right.
And so if you I think it was Tom Perez that took the question, do you support the fight for 15? And the answer he gave was the same thing a right-winger could say when they justify not supporting it, because he doesn't, first of all, and second of all, they're just well, we gotta have an economy that works for everyone. We gotta have a, which is really subtle for being well, let's take care of the rich people too. Let's not put it on them to give you a living wage for fair work. So, I mean, Democrats, some Democrats, not all. There's still a lot of
good ones.
A lot of good guys. There's still some good guys out there. I mean, that's why I've always been able, I'm always hesitant to say how I am or I'm not going to vote in 2018, because there's still a lot of time and there is still some reasons to be optimistic. But at the top, you're hearing more and more where they're sounding exactly like Republicans, because there really isn't, in so many ways, there really isn't that much a difference. In so many ways, the Democrats today, the corporate Democrats, are just Republicans that are progressive on social issues, which is still better than Republicans.
Of course, but we
deserve more than that. We deserve more than that.
And that's an interesting point, because you see this reflected in the idea that we're continuing to fight over identity politics. And that continues to be the biggest attacks against Donald Trump is identity politics. There's also, are you aware of the fight going on between the pro-choice groups and Heath Mello, which is a person, a mayoral candidate that Bernie Sanders has backed?
Yes.
Saying,
I'm interested in all the people, the diehard Hillary Clinton supporters and the people that still stand up for the Democratic establishment that like to shit on Bernie for this. And I'm not saying I agree with every decision Bernie's made. I haven't. There's a lot of decisions Bernie's made I haven't agreed with. I don't put him on some kind of pedestal, but I like the guy's policies. Mm-hmm. I like his platform. Hillary supporters don't have the luxury of saying that about Hillary. They can't really say, well, I don't agree with everything she's done, but I like her platform.
Sure. Why
can't they say that? Because she has no platform. Her platform was, I wanted to be president. That's her platform. She has no platform. I can tell you what Bernie Sanders stands for. Mm-hmm. I have yet to meet one Hillary supporter that can sit down and really tell me what Hillary stands for. Furthermore, which of her policies they prefer over Bernie's. I have yet to meet a Hillary supporter that's been able to tell me that.
That's because Sanders has
and
the
I'm still waiting.
Policies.
If someone in the comments can do it, please do it. Tell me one policy of Hillary Clinton's you like better than Bernie Sanders. An actual policy idea of hers that differs from him. Not just, well, Bernie's too far left. No. Point to something specific. Something specific.
And to be fair, right? Let's make sure that they don't pick something that she compromised with Bernie Sanders on during the election. It has to be, her original position?
Yeah, a policy idea of hers.
Of hers.
Tell me why
and not a
you
compromise
don't support,
with Bernie.
Which I mean is basically just things that she doesn't support. She doesn't support the fight for 15. She doesn't support universal health care. She actually got on a pedestal and said that would never be possible.
Never ever happen.
Yeah, it would never ever happen. She's pro fracking. I mean, tell me one policy of hers that you prefer over Bernie's. That's an actual policy of hers. I've yet to meet a Hillary person that can. They just tell me everything they don't like about Bernie. And so I guess what I'm getting at here, it's been very fascinating for me to see all the people that are shitting on Bernie now because of this. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve criticism, but that are shitting on Bernie because of this. But kind of forget the fact that Tom Perez and Keith Ellison are behind this guy too. First of all, they're also behind him. And second of all, you had no problem with Tim Kaine. No problem whatsoever.
Not only with Tim Kaine. And I pointed out yesterday on the show, Tim Kaine and Joe Biden hold the same beliefs. Not only that, but Tim Kaine actually did vote in favor of some abortion restrictions, which Heath Mello did not. He did a compromise bill that said if there's an ultrasound that is performed, we'll give you the option if it's performed. Because the previous bill said it must be performed and you must look. Mello said, we're not going to go with that. I'm actually going to go with a compromise bill that says it's an option if you get an ultrasound. So, again, you can hold personally pro-life views. Personally, my wife holds personally pro-life views, but she is pro-choice. She says she recognizes that she can't make the choice for other people. And another good friend of ours, Jordan French, holds the same views. He's a progressive, but he's like, I'm personally pro-life, but I realize that I can't make the decisions for other people. If that's what you're for, fantastic. That's progressive, allowing other people to have a choice that is progressive while making your own choice. So that's what we're about here. But again, we got off on the topic of social issues because that seems to be all the Republicans, or I'm sorry, all the Democrats. That's a weird Freudian slip. That's all they seem to be able to feel because they're not talking about economics, and they're also not talking about progressive issues like healthcare. Again, the reason that Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in America is because he talks about these issues. Again, over 80% of Democratic voters, have, a positive approval of Bernie Sanders. Whereas Hillary Clinton has a 35% approval, Trump has a 37% approval, and the Democratic Party is, Hillary Clinton was 36%, the Democratic Party was 35% in some of these polls. It means that Democrats, dinos, I should say, like Hillary Clinton and Dianne Feinstein, are not representative of the Democratic base, of people who make up Democrats. And because of that, they don't belong in the party. They got to go. The party leaders are not representing the party. They're not representing the voters, the constituents they're supposed to. That's why I'm hugely in favor of kicking the people out, the neoliberals out, from controlling our party. This is our party. It's supposed to be our party. Okay? Kicking them out and taking it back to what it used to be, the party of FDR. They're
absolutely,
they're the interlopers. They're not true Democrats.
No, they're not. I mean, they're not. But, I mean, the Democratic Party, at least at the top, had a chance to prove to us the people who they were, and they said loud and clear who they are. So, yeah, we either got a clean house or it's time for an alternative party. And we've talked about this too, Jeff. I mean, I support all the above. I mean, I support Justice Democrats. I also support draft Bernie. I think that's a great idea too. I kind of think it would be best if it happened after the midterm. Yeah. Because we got to focus on the short term, and the short term is the reality that Trump is in fact very dangerous. But he's dangerous for everybody. Yeah. He's dangerous for the right too. This is a really big opportunity for the left. So we have an obligation not only to fight against Trump, but also focus on the opportunity that this is to really take a sharp turn left, because that's what this is.
Right. And look, the good news on that is that I've read I've read some things about hundreds of Democratic candidates stepping up and running for office, and they're going to start running in 2018. Groups like Brand New Congress, Justice Democrats, and others they're really stepping up. They're really getting, like, the people too, because normally it was very difficult to find people who wanted to run in some of these districts. Now they're inundated with people who are tired of the establishment and who want to stick it to Trump and who want to stick it to the Democratic establishment and actually give you representatives that represent you. So I think it's awesome. I think this is the awakening of the left. Jimmy Dore was right. Got to give him credit for that. He said that this is going to be a wake-up call for the left. They're going to stop being asleep, and his predictions are absolutely turning out to be true. So make sure to tell Jimmy that for me. He's right.
I'll let him know.
Okay.
I will let him know.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.